Lucky you.
That's 36 holes in golf.
You tuned in to Alternate Shots Podcast,
Arnie's Army.
where we talk about golf,
Marquis, Sandy's,
poker,
Bond, James Bond.
horse racing,
I'm all in.
great movies.
Alfred Hitchcock.
We have no script.
And down the stretch they come.
We're glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Whoop. Let's start again.
My name is Forrest Gump. I believe that miracles happen every day. Now, I know some people don't think so, but they do. Take me, for instance. I know I'm not a smart man, but yet I've lived a lot. I got me a college education, played on the All-American football team, was a war hero, ping pong champion, shrimp boat captain, national celebrity, been in the White House 3 times, and once I told the President of the United States that I had to pee.
Billy, we're back. A lot of people want to know what's going on in the back nine of West Course, Wingfoot. We just finished up 11 and 12. We did our first double episode, but we're going to do one episode on 13 West. It's that treacherous a hole. What do you think?
I've never had a hole-in-one there. I have seen a hole-in-one there, but I've never had one. I'm just happy to hit that green. Anytime I hit that green, I feel like I've accomplished something. And oftentimes it's with a driver.
Well, we had Neil Christie on the podcast and his brother Bobby Christie, and their Neil's son, Robbie Christie, is playing in about a 2 or 3 club win in the club championship qualifier many years ago, and I was on the 13th tee. Boom, he rips one right through the wind into the hole. This is a treacher. This is kind of like the 16th hole at Port Rush, where Rory McIlroy and so many of those guys Graham McDowell, those guys are from in Northern Ireland, where, you know, death is to the right. At Port Rush in Northern Ireland, if you miss that 16th hole to the right, I think you need to take a ferry boat to the Isle of Wight to play your next shot. It's that bad. I think that's a tougher hole, but this is on the same kind of level. And we were talking going forward about places you don't want to really miss it. Where is your absolutely, I don't want to miss it on 13 West?
Right, pin high right. And actually, because there's trees over there, the bunker's okay. But if you're right of down by the 14th tee, you're dead. You either have to hit something low and hope it runs up through the trap and bounces up, or hits into the side of the hill and bounces up. There's no way to hit it over the trees there. Yeah, you're doomed over there. Plus, you've probably scared the group in front of you and embarrassed yourself by screaming 4.
Yeah, you don't want to be on that 14th tee because you got the trees, a few rocks, the bunkers, you know, everything's in your way. You just got to hope trees are 90% air and you can get it somewhere over the green and maybe make 4. But if you miss it to the right, 4 is certain and you might have a bigger score. Let's look at Davis Love here in the 1997 PGA. We're going to look at some other U.S. Opens, but this is the PGA. There's Davis Love. Not very happy. He didn't miss it right, but look at that lie over there on the left. How about those Marshall uniforms? Aren't they swell? Some members at Wingfoot still wearing those.
But at least on the left side, you got everything there. If you're adept with your flop shots and whatever, you can save the day, but you still maybe walking away with a 4. On the right side, you know, if you hit it on the 14th tee and your opponent says, "I'll give you 4 from there," pick up your ball and hit and tee off 14th. Don't even try to get better than that.
Yeah, this is the PGA, which back then was always held in August. So you can see the rough is kind of juicy there, but it's nothing like the U.S. Open rough in June when the temperatures are a little cooler. This rough is juicy, but it's still problematic for a flop shot. And if you get it 10 feet, like you said, take your 4, go to the next hole. And if the pin is stuck on the far side, on the other side of that swale between where you walk off and that swale, you might miss the green.
Oh yeah. And if the pin's in the back center, it doesn't really matter. Even if you're on the green, you don't have a 3 locked up. So there's some very difficult pin placements on that green when you do finally manage to get your ball on there.
Yeah, it's about a 220 give or take shot. It might be as far as 235 if they stick you all the way in the back of the tee, well, by the bathroom.
Yeah,
Well,
the outhouse.
some people have
Yeah.
used that bathroom just at a normal course of daily activity. So that some people go to the bathroom because they're going to play the 13th hole.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to go into that bathroom. But usually you don't come out with a hole in one. Although I have, like I said, I saw my cousin Owen do that once. I walked out of the back behind the tee there and asked him if he had hit yet, and he said nope. And I said good, because I didn't want to miss the hole in one. And boom, he hits the hole in one. I was like, yikes.
Owen, who's probably a scratch in those days. What's interesting about 13 West is if you were in a drone right above the back tee on 13 West, 10 yards to your left, if you're looking down toward the hole, is the top of the 12th West green, which we already chronicled. Just a few yards to the left of that is the back of the 16 West green.
Yeah.
To the other side, you got incoming, Paul Viteri.
14, yep.
Paul Viteri and Collier Kirkham and Phil Hogan are bombing those slices over there. And you how many times have you been on that tee? 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
In
it's
fact, I had guests there one day, and one of them hit it up there. We yelled 4, and the people on the tee yelled something back. And my guest said, "Did those guys just tell me to go, blank myself?"
jump in the lake.
And I said, I said, "No, I don't think that's what they said." And my other guest said, "Yeah, but people don't always say what they're thinking."
They weren't saying happy motoring.
Tried to get lucky and run it.
All right, so that's the top of the 13th green.
Way past the bunker, did it? Yeah, it looks like it ran way over the hill. Over near that tree, yeah. Over near a tree. Okay, I'll go over there and look. Okay. Schroeder on the fairways, moving swiftly.
There's a little bit of talk with Jim McKay, who's Sean McManus's father, who ran it. He was just the classic anchor for ABC Sports, ABC Wild World of Sports, the Olympics, all the golf coverage. He's just classic. Member of Wingfoot.
The agony of defeat, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah.
that him?
Agony of defeat, and this is about Jim Thorpe, who's playing a little bit ahead of Fuzzy Zeller in the 1984 U.S. Open. So let's move forward here a little bit. Let me get to the clip.
Poor Jim, he's almost no better off down there pitching up over that hill than he was before. Now back to Fuzzy Zeller for birdie of 13.
There's Fuzzy.
As I've said,
Billy, even when you're, what was he, about 12 or 13 feet, you're in the danger zone, because that putt can slip 6 feet by in a blink if you just hit a little pressure on that grip.
It might be the most underrated green on the course, because people are so busy just trying to get their ball on there that by the time they get there, they're happy to take their 2 putts and get the hell out of there. But that green can wreak havoc on your score. It's very difficult to read, very difficult to execute a putt. If you're on the back and the pins in the middle, you have tricky breaks coming down the hill. If the pin's in the back on that little knob in the back center, you can miss it left and right. It's almost impossible to hit a good putt there.
Yeah, he hit a pretty good iron, probably about a 3 or 4 iron in those days in 1984. Middle of the green, and he was left short of the. So those guys are thinking about one thing on 13. Whether it's you or me or the best players in the world, Scotty Scheffler, they're thinking about making a 3 and moving on to 14.
Absolutely.
Let's
No
take.
question about it.
So let's look at Jeff Ogilvy, who was the winner of the 2006 U.S. Open. But many people think that, this shot or that shot by either Ogilvy or somebody else, really determined the outcome. Very few people go back to the 13th hole, our favorite hole today, 13 West. Let's take a look at what Ogilvy did here.
He's a charter member of the Phil Mickelson, Colin Montgomery fan club.
Yeah.
for par.
Here's Ogilvy on 13.
At 13. I tell you, these Aussies are good from the bunkers.
Almost an offshore Sandy.
You've been,
amazing up and down.
you've been in that bunker. Now he has like feather light, you know, hands. They're so soft. That ball did hit the bottom of the stick and stopped it. How far would you guess that would have gone by the hole? As good a shot he's just hit there, like a butterfly.
Oh yeah, it could have gone all the way down to the other side.
Minimum 12 feet, 8, 10, 12. So he hits the pin.
He wasn't only in that bunker, he was like pin high in that bunker, which makes it that much more difficult.
He was 12 to 14 yards away from the hole, which, and also most people do play 13. That green goes away a little bit there, slightly, maybe.
Goes that way and that way, yeah.
So pin high, he's in the bunker, which is probably better than the rough where we saw Davis Love, but he hit the pin.
Well,
That's almost as much of a miracle as what he did on 17, which we'll talk about in the future. But he holed out on 17, the same open 5 holes later.
he's got a tap-in sandy shipwreck.
Yeah, you know.
He would be doubling chip right now.
So 3 people we saw. Fuzzy hit the green. Davis Love, who won the PGA in '97, and Ogilvy, they all did not want to miss it right. You saw Jim Thorpe a little bit earlier in '84. He missed it right so far they had to send a search party out, and that did him in.
The 36 holes at Wingfoot, there are some places that you just absolutely cannot hit it off the tee. Some places stand out, like for instance, 18 West. You do not want to hit it left off the tee there. You're doomed over there. It's jail. This is the same kind of thing here. You do not want to hit this ball on the right side on 13. You just, Jimmy Graham would say double.
Yep, double bogey.
Right off the tee, double bogey.
Even if you get a decent lie and you're short, let's say you hit a hybrid and you sort of fan it, and you're short in the rough, it looks like an insurmountable shot because the green is so much higher than where you are.
It's way up there.
As you know, when you go over there, you go down a ways. The traps are below bunkers, and you go below that. So
below
now,
them, yeah.
and then you have to hit a pretty good. You have to have a pretty good handle on your wedge to make sure it goes through the rough at the same angle, just to get the flop shot up to hopefully hold the green or get a 20-footer.
And 9 out of 10 times, if you do succeed in flopping it up there, you'll be short. The 10th time you belly it and it goes flying down over the back left, and you got other issues over there.
Yeah, the way the hole is now, where the bunker and the green are a little closer on the left, is like the old days in 50 years ago when I was a kid, whether I was playing or happened to caddy for some of the good players. They all aim between the middle of the green and the bunker, because if they hit the bunker, it would bounce right. Or even if they were in that little area, it was a little bit easier chip shot because you're right there, just bump it on and roll it up maybe 6 or 8 feet. But
right.
We even talked about the pin locations on this hole. Do you think that front right one is harder than all the way in the back in the middle, where there's that little level piece of green where they often put it way in the back?
I actually think that pin placement in the back might be the hardest pin placement on the property. It's just so difficult to get the ball close from there, from wherever you are. If you're pin high left or right, it's hard to get to judge the speed. If you're left and you misjudge the speed, you can roll past it and keep on rolling. If you're below it, which way is it going to break? Left or right? If you're too far left, it's going to go left. If you're too far right, it's going to go right. It's like Joe Pesci's mother. You got the dog looking one way, one dog's looking the other way.
I was watching my son Robbie play Robbie Christie years ago in the club championship, and my son actually hit a beautiful shot right on the top level toward the back of the green, back of the pin. He had about a 10 or 11 footer. Robbie Christie missed it right, which we said you don't want to. Missed it left, chipped on. He's about 20 feet for his 4. And I'm sitting over there like this. I don't have any more nails on my fingers because my son, he was like early 20s. You know what early 20 guys do? They like to hit it past the hole. And if you're 3 feet past the hole, you're down by Robbie Christie putting a 40-footer back up, and you can lose. That's the worst Mongolian reversal, a 5 against a 5 when you hit it 10 feet, right?
Right. Especially when three's going to do the trick.
Joe Savoca used to say, he was one of the big gamblers in the old days. He said, Bobby, can only win the hole once. Just lag it up.
Yeah. I had a guest in the member guest years ago, and we were in contention in our flight, and we hit 16 west, and he hit the green, and he was probably 10 feet. And he's got 2 putts to win our flight, basically. But I know this guy, and he wants the eagle more than he wants the victory, and he hits this thing probably 15 feet past the hole. I was ready to fall on my sword until he hit the next putt. He drained the next putt coming back. I was like, all right, if you're gonna do it, then do it right. So
There's
yeah,
never anything good, except your heart does come back to you after your partner and a member guest drills the 12-footer 14 feet by and then makes
right.
it. But 95 out of 100 times they don't.
95 out of 100 times, but he did save me the tirade that I might not have said to him, but I certainly would have complained to everybody else I saw the rest of the week.
Dastardly, drat.
Hit it and just lag it up there and win.
Pumpernickel, you so-and-so. You ever gone over the green? Have you ever gone over the green and had to chip back? It's kind of
Off the
hard.
tee, no. No,
Yeah.
I've never been over that green. I don't think I could.
I've been over the green, but I don't recall being over the green in one. I've been over the green in two.
Oh, I've been off the back, yeah, but not in one. Maybe once or twice I've rolled off the back after slamming a driver up there.
Yeah.
You know, it may be a foot or two off the back, but well, with technology, I might be able to hit it over the back of that green today, but most of my life, I'm happy to just reach that green.
And this is also, we've talked about this, one of the distinct advantages at Wingfoot for these guys that have 170, 160, much faster ball, swing and ball speeds than we have and hit the ball high. You play with a lot of guys, they're hitting 5-iron into the screen when there's no wind, and we're hitting a driver or a 3-wood, maybe with no wind, driver or 3-wood, and we're hitting that ball low, and you've got to hit it. It's kind of hard to hit that shot into the middle of the green and hold it. So you're trying to hit that front part of the green and have it bounce forward to the right.
Yep.
And so you hit a little bit of a fade. I can hit a fade sometimes. I like that little fade in there, but it's a bigger advantage when you're hitting a 5-iron in there. The green is so accessible.
And it's like 17 East too. Those guys that, you and I are hitting 4-irons and hopefully running up the front maybe. These guys are hitting 7-irons, 700 feet in the air and landing, soft. So yeah, the course is different for them. Their abilities, clearly helps them out a lot, but it's still, they may have different worries on the tee of 13 than we do, but they have worries.
Well, this green and 17, now that you bring it up east, you could argue you play from the same distance. We usually play from 190 or so. It's a little, maybe they're the same distance, but you would be happy with being right in the front of 13 West in the fairway, just as you would be. I play the 4 hybrid to be in the front of the 17 East, because if it goes a little to the rough or if it's a little to the left, I'm ideal. I can make a 4, I can make a 3. If I get lucky, I can make a 2.
Right. If you were my brother Neil, you could make a 2 with your putter by using it off the tee on 17 East. But
did he ever hit a putter on 13 West?
I'm sure he has. I haven't seen him do that, but I did see him do it on 17.
Well, you might have done what I like to tell this story. I murdered a driver when I was a young kid. I think the bag and I were about the same size on 17. We'll tell it another time too, but I hit it on the green and it came off, and I hit my little, 7-iron chip shot and went in the hole, and I had somebody come over to verify it because it was my first birdie in my life, but I was playing by myself, so I wanted somebody to see it. And it was sort of hanging in the hole and not in. I just needed to move the pin and it went down. But I say a 3 here on, it's like all the other par 3s at Wingfoot. A 3 is a great score.
And what you just demonstrated is what's amazing. An amazing thing about golf is you can remember that. I can't remember my kids' names sometimes, but I can remember a tee shot I hit in 1979 that was a draw or whatever. You remember some shots that you make in golf forever. And you'd never forget that. I remember my first eagle was on 15 at mid-ocean. I was shocked to hit the green in 2, and I made the putt. I was an eagle. I was ready to call the newspapers.
Yeah.
Since then, I've probably made 4 more eagles.
Yeah, we're talking about 13 West. I did see that one in hole in one. I've seen close it's also hard to see the ball around the cup from 200, 210.
Yeah, when you get up there, you don't know until you get there. I had one real close in the member. It was in the nibs a few years ago with driver into the wind. The pin was in the back right. And I had a choke down driver and it sliced it up there to like 2 feet. Gus was in front of us. So I had like basically a tap in birdie there. And again, that's a shot I'll never forget, I hope.
You made it, you wouldn't forget it because you'd still be paying the bill off.
Yeah. And if I missed a putt, I wouldn't forget it for the wrong reasons. But
This screen, I also, in my mind, think that of all the restoration work and the reclaiming of the greens and whatsoever, I think this green is still fairly similar to the way it was 50 years ago. I can't speak much further back than that. Your brother could talk about architecturally, but it's a pretty cool hole. Very few holes are you're saying, gee whiz, I'm the king of the world if I make a par on it. And this is one of those.
yep. And Wingfoot has, more than a handful of them, but as we've talked about many times on our podcast, which par 3 would you, wager a lot of money on that you'll make par? And, we've eliminated 1 or 2 of them. But, Wingfoot's par 3s are very formative, every one of them. They may not get the credit they deserve for Wingfoot being the kind of track that it is and the order that the holes come. But their par 3s are, they stop you in your tracks. You can't just say, oh, good, a par 3, I'll bang it up there and get a par. No way. They're every par 3 at Wingfoot is you're staring double bogey in the face if you make a mistake. Like I say, on 13 East, it's easier to hit in 1 than 2. That's true with a lot of the par 3s there.
Well, 6 East, you watch these guys in the good tournaments, you sit on the top there, watching them from the tee to the green, you see all kinds of funky shots, sometimes out of bounds. And because there's out of bounds, very seldom at Wingfoot, there is on 6 East, there's no out of bounds on 13. Well, I guess if you hit it really far right, you could be on Fenimore Road on 13 West. That's Bryson DeChambeau really far right. But so we should ask the better players next time we get a chance to interview somebody forget about 3 East, of the other 7, which is the one they would pick for their big bet. Let's show the clip of Bryson DeChambeau in his final round in 2020 and how he played 13 West. Listen closely to the sound because there's no spectators there. Listen closely to the sound of his iron hitting the ball.
That's bad because it should be short of the hole, which is where you want to be.
It's at the left side of the green.
That's really gosh. He thought it might get a little farther up into the green, but that's not bad.
All right, Billy, we just saw Bryson DeChambeau hit that beautiful iron shot to the middle, and oh boy, he's amassed a lead now on Matthew Wolff in the final round, and he's just trying to par out, right? That's all he's thinking about is parring in, right?
Yeah, and you know what? He must have derailed Matt Wolff because I haven't heard a breath from him basically since then. I guess he went to live, but he's kind of I disappeared.
Yeah, he got paid a fraction of what Bryson got paid, but he got paid. A really nice young man. I had the opportunity to meet him down at the Medalist. Really pleasant guy, and he had a great experience. I think the turning point was when they both made threes in the final round on the 9th West, which is amazing. They both hit
eagle, yeah.
Something like sand wedge into that hole, which that hole gets close to 600 yards.
From where they play it. I mean, for us as members, if you're ever holding out hope for eagles at Winged Foot, that's one of the holes where you might do it. 8 East is one of the holes where you might do it. 16 West is one of the holes where you might do it. But
You've held your breath on 10 West. You made birdie on 11. You made birdie on 12. And now you two-putt from the front edge of the green on 13 to make your par. Now you're all set. You think it's easy. Well, guess what? 10, 11, 12. Now you're going into the hardest par fours going. Absolutely.
and the next 2 holes absolutely have 2 tee shots where you can't hit it. Not every hole at Winged Foot offers you a tee shot where if you hit it a certain place you're doomed. But there are some holes there that you might as well go home if you hit the tee shot in the right-hand bunker on 14 or 15. You're dead.
So when I was a youngster, there's a story about, Bob Conti was a club champion. He was a wee man. This is back, he was into his 70s, probably in the 1970s, but he was playing a match, but he started 13 with a 3, the back 9 of the West. I don't know what he did on 10 or 11, 12. He made 3 on 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. 6 straight.
Wow.
Yep. And that was at
That must have knocked his handicap down.
That's the best case, like D3 weighted irons with true temper shafts and persimmon woods, maybe, and a lot of balls back in the 60s or so. But this is certainly the beginning of as we've seen, plenty of train wrecks at Winged Foot with Colin Montgomery and Mickelson, just a number of people. Arnold Palmer had a chance to win in 1974. Jim Thorpe back in 84. This is just the difference maker.
If you're still in contention or you still have a good round going and you've gotten through 10, 11 gave you sort of a break, relatively speaking, 12 sort of a break, relatively speaking. Now you hit 13, and in your head, whether it's in a match or because you're having a great round, it's in your head now, and now you're walking into a bear trap. I hate to use that expression because it's Nicholas, but he has that down in Florida. But that's what's going on here. You're about to play. If you have, nerves of steel, you'll get through here. But otherwise, you're walking into some trouble here until you get to 16, where you can take another breath.
That's a par 4. And what's interesting is the bunkers certainly are eye visual. That right bunker's tough, the left bunker's tough. We saw Ogilvy hit this great shot that we're looking at here on 13. But you're going into 14 with 2 bunkers protecting that very slim, narrow fairway. On 15, you got the bunker on the right. Okay, they should be hitting a 3-iron. But if they hit the 3-iron off to the right, and they do once in a while, they're in that bunker and they're dead. 16, you got a big fairway bunker up by the green. If you don't hit your second shot and you're in that, that's what happened to Mickelson. We'll talk about that. 17, you got the bunkers down the right side, so it makes you aim left, and you
can't. That's another place at Winged Foot. You can't hit it in those bunkers on the right on 17, because not only you are in a bunker, you're blocked by trees. So that's a no-no.
You might have not thought hard and long, but you're getting a headache after 13. There's another bunker on 14. There's another bunker on 15. There's more bunkers. And that's if you're not stuck in a really bad rough lie, which there are some bad rough lies that right on 15, that rough. We're going to come to those holes. Let us hear from you if you have stories about 14 West, 15 West, 16, 17, and 18. We'll retell them. Just give us some idea about that. Billy, what are your final thoughts on 13 West?
Well, I'll paraphrase something Doc Volpe said to me years ago. You know you're in trouble when you have 5 swing thoughts and they all begin with don't. That's sort of where you are on 13.
The name is Colonel Frank Slade, U.S. Army retired. Charlie, if you ever find yourself face to face with danger, you just look danger right in the eye and you say, "Who
Genius of Danny Gans. Billy, this has been great. We look forward to do 14 pretty soon. I hope your gut shots all hit and your trips get made and you wax these guys this week up at the Mohegan Sun.
Yeah, just give me quads on the video poker machine. That makes my day.
Why are you laughing?
Well, at least we have the laugh to add it. That's what happens. Somebody changed my grip, and the next thing you know, I can't do the podcast anymore. I felt like I was in the first row of the first pew at church right during the sermon.
And your brother was poking
My
you.
brother was making me laugh.